see them play a little bit more reserved, a little bit more careful, as we are back on the blue side for game number 2. 2 games of blue side for top esports. You don't normally see that.
It will mean that Team WE will get to end the series on blue as well, since they did win that game 1 on red side. Could be big for them. But top with that Scion ban instead of the Jace ban, maybe looking to prompt a Jace ban from Team WE here. As that's a pretty expected first pick, and something we're seeing that's a little bit more common, banning out that Scion to then prompt a Jace ban. And it's a choice here because Varus is up too. Something that JackeyLove would be thrilled to get his hands on. So a real choice for WE whether they want to let that Varus or Jace through to top esports.
Rekton banned away instead. So it's going to be an opting into a trade potentially here of those 2 power picks. The Varus we saw not have too much success in our last series, but I think that was due to a number of other factors as well. So we'll see what exactly top esports want to select this time around. The Jace hover would definitely make a lot of sense. Can be a little bit flexible, but we're expecting that to go to 369.
And Bessa Varus, pretty good start for Team WE. Would not be surprised if that comes out here at all. Of course, they have the option to save Ambessa for 3. Could take something else here, but you imagine you gotta lock in that Varus. Prevent that from going over to top esports. Other prio picks could see a Xin Zhao maybe being considered here for Monki. But I feel like, yeah, Varus Ambessa is pretty strong. I'd be very surprised if they drop Varus and give that over to JackeyLove.
JackeyLove can play a lot of different things into it. I mean, you know, things like Karis is still available if you want to go that direction. But so, no, it's going to be the Varus locked in here for Taeyoon. We'll see what top esports want to respond with, though. Misfortune has been something that top, I think, almost like kind of like began the rise in priority with. Like, I feel like JackeyLove and Chris were one of the first bot lanes to whip this pick out. And it's had varying levels of success for them, I'm not going to lie, but...
A lot of people aren't thrilled with seeing MF, like, across the globe, think that she's too high a prio. Top Esports is definitely a team that, for me, has the MF pass. Like, they are a team where, when JackeyLove and Top Esports gets MF, I think they play the pick really well. Not just with how JackeyLove plays it individually, but also, you got to make moves and rotate across the map if you want to play around with this pick, and I do feel like Top Esports are able to do that effectively as... a Rise coming in. That is something where you can play into the Ambessa insides later on, so I do like that pick for Creme. And of course, Team WE really wants to snag that Ambessa into the Jace, so now Top Esports have the option to throw out 2 picks that might protect that Rise in the mid lane, whereas, gotta imagine that we're going to see a couple bans being thrown towards Kanavi here.
Yeah, just continue to pinch that jungle pool.
Yeah, I'd take away the Wukong for sure.
Away. Those were 2 of the big ones that he's been playing a lot of, and continue to see. The Sejuani, maybe less priority, given the fact that you have like 1.5 range soul laners in this game. So instead, maybe targeting the Jax jungle, which definitely could do good into the Xin Zhao.
Yeah, I was about to say that Jax jungle we pretty much only see as a pick into Xin, but interacts well with Ambessa and Xin, so going to get rid of that one for Kanavi. We'll say, though, that I really wanted to see a Wukong ban. I think that tank buster identity could be kind of nice going into the Xin and the Ambessa. And also would pair decently well with the Rise and the Jace. So, yeah, that's going to be taken away from Kanavi. Always been a really big pick for him. So, like those 2 bans. Whereas, wouldn't be surprised to see a Victor now taken away from Karis. Just trying to get a couple of control mages that are really nice against Rise out of the pool. Rise does struggle into range. And, of course, Rise can delete waves and pump out a ton of damage, but has to be in range to do so and fire off those skill shots. So, expect to see... I like the Orianna ban and expect to see Victor taken away here as well.
Ooh, Poppy instead. It allows for Karis to maybe go towards that pick.
I think maybe they want to show Rel here, if that ends up being the case. So the Poppy pick, like maybe worried that Vampire could play that on 5. But it does leave up a pick like Victor, where you are now going to be outscaled. This game goes really late by the Victor. So Top Esports going to try and make sure they end the game a little bit before that. I will say, showing the MF too. I think you might be okay playing into the scaling, as MF and Rise both want to play quite quick in this game. So maybe that's what prompts the Poppy ban versus Victor. And of course, that ban to be signal that Rel would be showing here for Chris. So no surprise to see Chris probably lock in this Rel.
Then leaves up to Kanavi. play into the Xin Zhao. I mean, if you want maximum synergy with the Misfortune, something like a Jarvan is available. It hasn't been super high in prio throughout this season, but just specifically given the composition and a mobile backline carry duo in the Victor and the Varus, I could maybe see that happening. But nope, we're going a little spicier. We're going with the Lee Sin, as that is definitely a Kanavi classic here for top.
I gotta say, Rise Lee, you can win a lot of mid-jungle fights with that early on, so we'll see if Creme and Kanavi able to sync up and make that happen. Whereas for Vampire, Nautilus here to try and provide some interruption against what top esports are throwing at them could be nice. So, yeah, I don't mind this for Vampire. I think they were also thinking about the Braum. Could be good with the Xin and the Ambessa, but a little bit of engage lacking. And I think the disruption that Nautilus can provide this game when you go up against something like a Lee Sin, like an MF, can be quite nice. So, ends up being the choice for Vampire. Is we gotta say, these comps being routed out, I feel like top esports have a better chance to win this game, Grapes, as this feels like a very comfortable composition for them. Can really play through the Lee and the Rise early, as this is really full early game showing for top esports, but it's not unwinnable for Team WE. They have a lot of scaling, just gonna need to have that, what we assume to be a poke Varus, make sure that he's able to bridge the Victor and Ambessa into the later stages of the game.
On the other side, though, I do like what WE have offered up as well. It feels similar to, well, the two backline, the Victor Varus combo is one that we saw LNG play a little bit earlier on, and if maybe we go towards the on hit Varus iteration this time, you could see a little bit of different success for them. Do you think overall WE have the ability to at least match in the 5v5, especially as we get later on in this game? So if you're top esports, want to make sure you get off to that early lead, but also don't go too aggressive to try to build those leads that you end up throwing away kills like you did in game number 1, because that's what led to WE being up 1-0 in this series in the first place.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really feel like top esports have to clean things up, but again, this is a comp for me that feels comfort for them. I think that the Jace and the Rise going to be really, really strong in the side lane here. And when you have MF giving you that priority bot, I think that we're going to see a world where top esports pretty much have 3 pushing lanes and can use that to help Lee Sin pressure the Xin Zhao in this matchup. So I like the setup we have so far here for top esports. Just want to see if they can execute better in Team WE's home arena.
See some top esports fans, but I feel like a lot of them were cheering for WE after that happened. And oh my goodness, we're about to get a bit of a scrap here. Chris Crashdown is canceled early on. Monki in trouble as Kanavi dashes in with a resonating strike. That is first blood to start things off for top esports. And now Cube gonna get hit up by the W2, forced to flash away. And WE down early as it's gonna be first blood picked up for top.
MF brings a lot of power at a level 1 with the PTA. Love how Creme skilled that Essence Flux. So you have the low cooldown, and then the Jace and Lee Sin, both really strong level 1s. So even despite that Rel Crashdown being canceled by the Dredge line, still a pretty easy fight for top esports as they get first blood.
Oh, and it goes to JackeyLove as well in this Misfortune, just in case.
Yeah, got some boots maybe against this poke Varus. Oh, just a control ward. Okay.
So we're not going to be that much stronger in the lane early at level 1, but we will eventually start to scale up a little bit more. We are also seeing the Comet for Taeyoon as well as Karis, which doesn't signify a lethality Varus build, which might scale a little bit less into the late game, but compared to LNG's composition last time, there's not a Scion in the top lane, it's an Ambessa, which means, and the Xin Zhao means that there will be other damage to be output here for WE.
I think the poke Varus is just the right call this game. And again, the scaling for Karis and Cube on the Victor and Ambessa is quite nice. Those champions can for sure deal with the front line that poke Varus struggles a little bit more with. And this poke identity for WE will be nice. They have to defend against the Jace, of course, who's pretty nice at providing that poke as well, but the lasers and the piercing arrows should out-damage and overcome what these empowered shock blasts can throw out in return. And any objective that Team WE can get to early will be really tough for top esports to fight back against. Definitely want to see if they're able to do that, because again, going through the tape, I felt like Team WE kind of struggled to play through sides and also get to objectives on time or early. And this is a game where they're really going to lose the sides to the Rise and the Jace, no matter what the matchup is. And again, important that they get to those dragons early in order to set up the poke that Victor and Varus should have. So do want to see if they can really level up in those two categories.
Kanavi Bait onto this red buff.
Not spotted yet.
Jumps over the wall. Monki does have his smite, but it looks like Kanavi wants to avoid having a flip end up happening. Just try to pressure him out of the lane. 369 had push and had a timer to show up around the red buff. And I think the objective will reset a little bit. And now gives some time for Q to arrive. But Kanavi really nicely placing this into a brush. And it will mean that Top Esports should secure themselves that objective steal.
Cube also stepped away from the wave. They're trying to assist his flash support and bot.
Chris,
Crisp, he's dead.
oh my god! Chris just dies! I don't know how that happened. Now JackeyLove gonna be in some trouble as well. Taeyoon doesn't have any enough mana for an arrow just yet. Finally will proc it. The comment and the Scorch is gonna pick up a double kill in for WE's AD carry.
Creme TP.
Will be matched here by Creme. He teleported down here to try to make a trade of things. The overload does not connect. The Rune Prison will eventually lock him down, and it will make it a 2-for-1 overall.
All right, nice TP from Creme. He's going to pull that wave and make sure that not too much is lost, but still the win for this bot lane. That 2v2 against JackeyLove and Chris picking up a double kill like that. That's a pretty elusive bot lane. The takedown of the 2v2 is the good split for Taeyoon continues, and great to see Vampire, a player that has had his ups and downs, step up in the lane phase in this game for WE.
So once again, even though the first part of the game went very well for Top Esports, a little bit of mistakes being shown here for Top. I wonder what happened with Crispy. He just eats a hook.
This is just the wrong timer to fight against the Varus. Varus at level 3, if you're able to cycle out those white stacks. And we see the fact that you take down 3 lowers the cooldown on the Q. Helps Taeyoon get that cooldown back. I think he was waiting for mana in order to cast that Q, as it looked like he almost went to 0. And you called it out, Grapes. The Scorch, the comment just enough to take down JackeyLove. They swapped up the lanes. I will say that Cube didn't burn the TP, did walk bot. That wave, of course, was frozen, so just now coming back. That does mean that JackeyLove was able to get a good amount of resources in the back half of that, so he's not necessarily behind. Just going to be 369, who potentially will suffer on the top side, but Chris has come up to help 369 get access to resources. I think the biggest thing about this is that Mbessa being in that solo lane, if she's able to get an XP advantage against Jace, that is one of the ways that Mbessa can actually force on this matchup and win. So still think the scenario is decent for Team WE.
And showing that it's not just, you know, the top 8 teams and the bottom 2. FPX and WE, even though they came through the last chance qualifier, certainly are here to play in the Ascension group. The experience against these top teams is going to help them throughout the year, as they are currently playing a very competitive series against the last year's best team in China.
Last Split's best team, yeah.
Last Split's best team,
yeah. I mean, again, it's been a pleasant surprise here. As, oh, that's a Realm Warp coming in. They got to be careful. Nice flash from Chris.
Yeah, Sun's up 2, looking for the engage. Creme comes in with a Realm Warp as well. One more auto on a Monki should do it. That is the 3rd kill. The Feet of Warfare picked up here for Top Esports.
Oh boy.
Looking for some more potentially, but the Arcane Storm from Karis is doing a lot of work. 369 forced to go in onto Taeyoon, but Taeyoon will find a kill first, and it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade once again. Creme now in some trouble, but Karis
has mana.
Vampire looking for a potential hook. Kanavi looking to join the fray as well. Does not use the resonating strike in, and so will be WE just letting them get away with this one, unless another hook comes in from Vampire, and Karis picks up a kill.
Oh, the home crowd loves it too. Could hear him in the background there as WE win out on that skirmish on the top side. And frankly, I want to replay that one because it looked like he was Top Esports favorite at the start, but WE were able to stick with it. Vampire being really valuable on the Nautilus for that skirmish. As coming out of it, gotta say, Taeyoon, a lot of gold in his shoulders versus Creme, who did go down at the end, but still sitting at 2-1 and 2. Accelerated towards that Roa, and that Seraphs could be big.
Almost got a little steal from Taeyoon there, but it is all 3 grubs secured by Top. And now go on to this Scuttle Crab, but Monki here to try to defend it as well as take it for himself.
They're thinking
the squad. Vampire gonna hex splash over the wall, land the rune onto Chris. Gonna be matched with the crash down onto Monki. Kanavi does a lot of damage here, but Chris was already very low. 369 has now joined the fight. He's gonna use that to the skies and take this Instao down. Makes it a 1-for-1 trade though, as both junglers are now out and down for the count. Taeyoon gonna be the target. Accelerated Shock Blast connects, but on the back end of things, Creme taking a boatload of damage, but is doing a boatload right back. Chris trying to find a stun onto Karis. Again, another 1-for-1, but 369 still is alive here in this fight. The Shock Blast will take Vampire down to below 200, but that is all it shall be.
Creme was so big in that fight. Again, he's doesn't really have the items completed yet on the Rise, but just being ignored and being as tanky as Rise can be in these early fights, was able to get a lot of work done. And I gotta say, well, all this craziness has been happening on the top side. It has been JackeyLove getting some plates here on the bot side, and I think both Cube and JackeyLove kind of benefiting from this, because again, called out that if Cube gets a level advantage against 369, can use it to try and push his advantage against that top laner. This is one where he's up a full level now on 369. I know that 369 has been really involved in some kills, so does have some gold on his shoulders, but levels matter a lot too.
Oh, this would be big. I think you try to take that Cube here. Public Execution does not connect. Ignite is ticking. Oh, he's healing from the potion is going to be enough. He still has 2 biscuits as well.
Still, nice summoner spell taken away there as a good look from Chris on the find, but I'm a little bit concerned for the Jace later on in this game, as again, Cube is ahead in XP. I think important that top esports are able to force him out there, because we'll lose access to this wave and buy some time for 369 to catch back up, as top esports looking to cash in on those first 3 grubs. In fact, that MF has had this lane all the way in to try and guarantee a first brick, which would be really tough for WE to defend against. They don't have any tower close to falling. In fact, they've yet to take a single plate. So top esports doing good work here on the bot side.
With that pressure, allows for Kanavi to potentially start up this dragon. Monki going to match with a little invade over the 3rd spawn of the Gromp. 369 forced back into underneath his tower.
He's down level.
He is very singled out. He's very under leveled as well, as Monki actually has the XP advantage over him. 369 without the flash probably actually will just go down to the 1v1 as it gets a little bit of assist from the death ray of Karis, but Monki is the one to secure the kill.
Yeah, and I know it's first brick being taken for top esports. They will secure feats, and they do secure the dragon, but I gotta say, 369, I mean, when we spawned into this game, Graves, we talked about the importance of like Rise and Jace. They should be able to win both side lane matchups regardless of who they're going up against. When 369 is this far behind, that doesn't happen anymore. Jace is a champion that completely scales off the economy that he has, right? I mean, he's only here for the damage. He's not a utility champion. Him being behind like this is something where now all of a sudden Karis and Cube, who have a big advantage, should be able to actually press into him and maybe not guarantee the fact that top esports are going to win 2 sides, something they definitely drafted for.
Yeah, 369 is the head and gold over Cube right now, but the XP is what you were talking about. A full level basically being the differential at this point. 369 not going to have a good time holding his own in a side lane, as we just saw. Even a champion, even a Xin Zhao like Monki was able to come in and make quick work of it. So now 369 kind of forced to play with the entire team stacked up here. Target now going to be this top lane tier 1. Karis, Vampire, Monki all in the area, but I think that the numbers advantage will mean that top esports are going to be happy with just forcing WE away from their own structure.
This is all 5 groups. We're not playing out more lanes, though, as WE. We're kind of just losing out this lane, and Taeyoon walked to help, but wasted time from WE. Is that cross-country mile for Varus going to cost him some free time on a mid-lane turret and potentially a better setup for the second spawn of grubs, as we'll say 369's TPing out is down, again, a level and a half to Cube, which is I'm really concerned about as this game goes on for top esports.
Well, they at least get 1 of these grubs. Actually, don't end up getting either all 3 grubs or the turret, so a little bit too aggressive maybe in terms of their oversteps here, as a really nice chain of corruption lands from Taeyoon and ends up taking Kanavi down. But the crash down from Crisp is going to be big, also combined with the Magnet Storm, forcing the flash away. WE, though, stacked fully as 5, and off of a really nice play from Varus, allows for Kanavi to go down, and they're going to pick up the rest of these grubs.
There's a big TP from Cube, too, but, I mean, Vampire continues to have just a monster game here on the Nautilus, sitting at 2-0-6, Graves. He's really been a playmaker. Getting that flash out of Creme in the back half is big, and, again, top esports kind of, I don't want to say reeling in this game, but it feels like, again, they have a comper with the MF, with the Rel, with the Rise Jace. They should be on the front foot. Like, they should be really able to dictate the pace of this game, and they have been with the grubs, but they haven't played out clean enough, and have been really eating a couple fights from Team WE, where it's not like they're losing totally on the map. Like, this game is close to even, which is not where top esports want to be. This is ballsy from Taeyoon. I mean, this is a complete guess on the ult. He got the audio feedback from the Q hitting. That's about it. And love the step up and engage from Vampire, who, again, continues to have a big fight. Love how he gets Cream's flash out of the back half of this one, too. So another cooldown they can look to punish here.
WE, I mean, they're proving that that first game was not a fluke, and even with top esports, maybe are playing a little bit cleaner overall. Still absolutely in contention here, as we got a teleport coming in from Creme. Karis going to be the target here with the Arcane Storm, doing a lot of damage. Kanavi already at half HP. Creme should be able to finish things off onto Karis. The question would have been if Kanavi the trade in a 1-for-1.
Oh.
There's the Essence Flux, and it will be Creme picking up the kill.
I thought for a second the Vision Break could have been nice, as good play from top esports again, playing into the Rise lane with the Lee Sin. We didn't really even see the Empowered Rune Prison used, but hey, wasn't needed there. Good kill pickup for top esports.
So now the gold leads right back into their favor, although just by a little bit. But, I mean, again, the fact that WE did not have any game wins entering this series, of course, even though they've only played 2 series so far. Doing this against top esports, and I don't know what you think, Cubby, but I feel like, in my opinion, it's not like anybody is really playing that bad compared to, you know, game number 1 where we had a couple of big int levels on top.
No, I think I like the direction with some of the grubs. Again, they had those 3 grubs up early. You see Creme actually take the decision to drop that turret because I think he was denying local gold against Cube, who does remain a level up on 369. So for me, still a point of power that WE can look towards on this map, as the equips being completed for the Ambessa and Cube being ahead of the Jace like this is, again, something I really feel like WE could drive home. It's a big deal for me if they're able to flip one of these side lanes that, again, both should be winning for top esports, just with how much strength Rise and Jace both bring into their respective side lanes, regardless of matchup. If they can flip one with the strength of the Ambessa, that could really help with these dragon setups that are really important for WE, because they need to get in the river first to try and get this poke set up. And at the moment, not been able to see them set up the way they wanted to, as it's JackeyLove who does have that level up on Taeyoon, about a half level up, and that Bloodthirster that has bullied his way to mid-prio and has really helped top esports secure this bot river control, which should lead to the second dragon that won't be contested by WE.
Yeah, Karis has a nice wave pushing topside, so they're going to try to get some damage maybe onto that tier 2 or just deny some of that extra gold and CS that could be crashing in underneath the turret. The trade, though, will be top esports pick up that second dragon. A mountain rift will be forming as well, so some extra resistances, some shield power for top if they're able to pick up that soul. Certainly a good thing to have against the heavy damage composition that WE are going to be putting out later.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's a decent draw, though, for top esports, because I think if they're able to stack up the mountain, I mean, A, they're closer to soul, but B, the pen items for WE, not exactly items that they are thrilled to build, or at least when they do, we're going to see it later on. So, could be a potential timer for top esports to snag a couple of those mountain dragons early and really have a big rise. Or just a bigger carries earlier on, which I still think is nice for top esports. Again, overall scaling of this game, do like a couple of the aspects that we see from WE later on. Like, we expect the Victor and the Ambessa to eventually overtake their opponents in terms of scaling. The concern is that, of course, it's a poke Varus going into that on-hit DPS, so I think it's contested for both sides, or it can be nice for both sides. I think the biggest thing is that Victor just wins out of the range war, so we've seen Victor become a big problem later on in these games, and we'll see if Karis is able to do so in this one.
Had himself a good series, on the first game at least.
Yes.
Even on this Victor, doing good. I mean, I feel like Karis hit or miss early on in his career, but he's going to find a new home for himself on WE here in the LPL. This Carol's going to be started up by WE. They should be able to take it down pretty low. I don't think Kanavi wants to necessarily go for this, especially because he now has a Jace pushing in a side lane onto the tier 2 turret of his opponent.
Yeah, of course, able to get that wave all the way in exchange for the Rift Herald. It was taken by WE, and to be able to absorb most of the waves after that, so I'd say not all bad for WE.
Definitely not. Let's see where they can utilize that Herald. Oh my god. Look at that turret health up there. Remember when they spent all five members of the top esports for topside hitting that turret like 10 minutes ago? Well, it's still alive.
Yeah, I mean, not all bad for WE. This game has really slowed down, which I find kind of curious. I do think that right now with both teams have just pretty much dinged 11 across the board. We have a really close game here for this game too, Grapes. There's a little bit of gold showing advantage Top Esports in their inventories, but could easily see that flip if Monki drops an Ice Herald, or if the next fight around this dragon goes one way or the other. We got a tense one on our hands.
Again, not necessarily what we were expecting for this series. I think you're power ranking these teams coming into Split 2. You'd have Top Esports at top 2 in this group, and WE somewhere in the bottom 2 in this group. And right now, it's not looking like that as much, and I think that's proving that these teams got into the Ascension group for a reason and are going to be competitive against all the top teams. There's not going to be any free matches as we go throughout this double round robin.
And that was definitely our hope, seeing like these bottom teams improve with both, like W and FPX, right? If you're an expected bottom team, have the biggest gap to close, but it's not enough. Now, which to learn, and we have seen these teams we so far step up in this group. Again, I view this as a great opportunity if you are one of these two teams. Opportunity to get multiple stage games against the best of the best in the LPL and teams that who knows if they're scrimming against behind the scenes or not, right? If you're a top LPL team, you get access to the top teams in your region and also the top teams in the LCK, who are all pretty damn good. So, I have seen at least been nice to see FPX improve, and nice to see WE showing some improvement early on here as well. But of course, so much time we spent talking about FPX, the difference between winning a game and winning a series against one of these teams, and WE faces the same issue here, as they did put together a nice game 1, but you got to find a series win. Things have really slowed down here in this game 2.
To be fair, the game wins were what started things off for FPX, and eventually they turned into series wins. So even if the result doesn't hold for the remainder of this one, and Top Esports somehow find a way to come back, I think it's still a good sign of things to come for WE. Still be proud of this result.
I like this from WE too. I talked a lot about how it's important for them to get vision and sit in it. You can see them really relying on the control that they have, using Herald to make sure the top's jailed behind this turret and for this wave yet again, as the Victor and the Varus will get to fade into their fog. And that's a tough scenario for Top Esports to walk into those piercing arrows and laser beams coming out of the Victor. So I like how WE were able to set this one up. They're starting to hit the objective. We'll see if they can continue to poke out, as that's a nice empowered shock blast that hit on both carries from 269.
Coach going to be matched, though, by the piercing arrow of Taeyoon. Remember, this is soul point for Top Esports, so they will pick it up, and they're going to try to single out just one singular target. 369 in some trouble, but he still will remain alive, even with the hail of arrows coming down. But Monki looking to chase down Top Esports, but he got a little bit too far forward. Creme with the Rune Prison will pick up the first kill of the fight, and Chris is still hungry, looking for an engage, but instead, he will go back to the Mountain Dragon to claim the prize for Top.
I like the idea from Team WE, just played it way too fast. And we've seen this from Monki and WE before. The overextension, spent a lot of time talking about that in Game 1. Definitely saw that come to fruition here in Game 2 as Monki tries to reach, tries to finish up some kills. And WE, they don't stay disciplined with their lines. It's going to play out the back half of that fight as Top Esports find a win.
Now look at Creme, level 14, two levels ahead of Karis
got so far behind.
With a full stacked Roa, 4-1-4. This guy could be a problem for the rest of this game.
Karis was up at one point in this game, like up experience, and these last couple of minutes he's really dropped. Because again, everything learned here on 369, but was able to flash out. Taeyoon got so close to trying to wrap him up. Yeah, I mean, Monki, I think the flash out's kind of what killed him. I think that's once he takes that E in, it's kind of a one-way trip in. And even with the flash out, it was still a one-way trip in. Monki goes down. And Top Esports, they actually have a substantial gold lead now, as things were quite close going into that Dragon, now being up 3k gold and threatening Mountain Sword Point for the rest of the game. Does put them in a rather advantageous position.
Curious to see how Top Esports can play out this 1-3-1 setup, which definitely has been built with their composition. You have Creme and 369 in the side lanes right now. Going to try to break open those tier 2 turrets, which are still available in both side lanes. Can be matched decently well by Cube on the Investo. However, you mentioned during the draft, Cubby, that the reason you could pick this Rise is that it matches really well with an Investo in a potential 1v1 setting once he gets a couple of items. So seeing what Creme can do, as he's now 2,500 gold ahead of his respective counterpart in the mid lane, and probably the strongest champion overall in the game.
Yeah, he is large in this one. And I don't know exactly everything that went into that last Dragon setup, but I can tell you, like, going into that Dragon, Karis was not down a full level in this matchup. But afterwards, he is now, and as you said, Creme is the big boy on the Rift, as We'll see if he can really take over on the rise. We've got to see him really drop those, big realm warp angles that we could see. And would love to see him maybe look to get Crisp involved with one of those, because I feel like that's a real opportunity for top esports. A lot of room for creativity with those realm warps.
How much they want to use it, how badly they want to try to flip around a neutral objective. I mean, other than Zotacon, otherwise you're probably just waiting for this dragon to spawn in 2.5 minutes. And I feel like if you're top esports, no reason to try to go for anything else other than that, because it's such an easy win condition for you. Picking up that Mountain Soul, preventing some of that poke bearish damage from coming through. He already has gone the Serpent's Fang to try to counteract some of that, but just the added resistances will also help. As you mentioned, the pen items not really there, especially when you're a victor and you're going this Roa build.
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer for those to get online, for sure. So, a Mountain Soul would be pretty tough for Team WE. I guess the saving grace is that Taeyoon's like, hey, my Serpent's Fang would feel really good if they get the Mountain Soul, but obviously not exactly the position you want to be in, right?
I know, you're like hedging your bets already. That
it's the cope, where it's like, don't worry, team, I already have Serpent's Fang. It's not as bad as you think.
You gotta save everybody in order for that to become super impactful. As right now, top esports just trying to gain control around all portions of the map. Actually, interesting, they focusing most of their vision game on the top side. Look at the top side river, just completely lined with blue wards. So not fully transitioning down to the bottom lane, where there will be that potential Soul Dragon available just yet.
Let the game breathe here as Team WE. I'm really concerned about where Karis is at on this Victor. I mean, he is down a level and a half at this point and is really on the back foot. Like, as Victor, you need to get to those 2, 3, 4 item points to really start to overtake this rise. And with the lead that Creme has in this early Zanyas that's due to come in, I just want to see what Creme can do as a playmaker. Again, Creme is someone that for top esports, it really feels like we've joked about how this team domestically stronger than what they are internationally. I think Creme has been a big component of that, as we have seen really good domestic performances from him, but has always kind of left us wanting something on that international stage. To see him carry this game through on the rise would be quite nice here for top esports. Creme continues to ensure here in the LPL, and definitely someone that is in position to step up for his team here, and we'll see if he can do so.
Yeah, not necessarily that rookie anymore. It's what, year 2 or 3 on top esports,
yeah.
And year 4 or 5 in the LPL in general. So we're looking at somebody who's going to start to have to come into his own, and he has been doing so, especially on the domestic stage. And we're seeing it here on the rise as well. He doesn't have the fully completed Zanyas, as the Dragon has now been made available, but he does have the stasis through the Seeker's Arm Guard if he decides that he needs to use it. Realm Warp also is available. If they want to try to set up some unique flank, maybe with Chris, Dragon has to start it up by WE.
The poke's not really landing yet for WE. They've done an okay job of setting up, but throwing the projectile is dangerous.
Vampire, he pulled the trigger first. All of a sudden, that could be Chris in a lot of trouble. Vampire dies instantaneously. Cube on the back line, going in on JackeyLove. He sports the flash over the wall. Creme in a lot of trouble as the piercing air from Taeyoon takes him down. But 369 and Kanavi trying to make something happen, but it will not work. It is 369 still alive, but Taeyoon is still full HP. Overall, a 3 for 3 across the map.
I mean, a banger fight that was turned around by Cube, who does manage to get that base off. Does have TP up if he wants to get involved here. Gonna TP to the bot wave, and I mean, Grapes, we gotta get ready to fire this one up again, because that Mountain Soul is still on the table, and you gotta believe it's a must-deny here for top esports.
Jungler's not gonna be alive for this one, so it is up to, right now, Cube, Taeyoon, and Vampire, who are alive, to try to hold the fort down a little bit. We're going to get another fight of the Dragon, but let's take a look real quick at what happened.
I mean, I was surprised if Vampire turns it on the Chris, because I think it was a lot used for not too much. The big key for me is that Creme falls. Creme didn't get a lot done in this fight. It was really kept busy by Monki, and had that flash up, but it really flashed for nothing here at the end. Big kick by Kanavi saves the back half. He synergizes really nicely there by 369, but that pull, that angle from WE, and how they set up that fight, for me, much improved from what we've seen with WE in their first 2 series in this group of Sen. And that's nice, right? They have the poke advantage. They were able to get control and kite back into it. and had a nice turn that was synced up as a team with Vampire. So again, W playing a much better league today than what we've seen. And we'll see if they can turn this into denying that elusive Mountain Soul that could really turn the game and give a lot of power in favor of Top Esports. This one does go over to them. So another must fight from Team WE. A lot less flashes available, though, for Top Esports this time around. Whereas look at the flashes available for Team WE. Is their conditions much better going into this fight?
And if Vampire starts to engage again, I don't see
this
why
could be huge.
WE can
This
win
is risky
another
for
fight.
Top. This is risky for Top. Like, if I'm Top Esports, I do not fight this. I do not want to give this. I'm really surprised they're contesting this as hard as they are. Because being down flashes, you're really setting up for a dangerous fight here.
Sonic Wave comes over. Kanavi might just try to look for the steal, but again, it is going to be Chris who gets engaged on first. Monki dashes forward. He's still alive. Vampire is still alive as well. Karis flashes away. Top Esports might be melting. Creme goes down. Finally, Q will get a response as it is Kanavi looking to carry his team to a Game 2 victory. He lands a Sonic Wave. The snipe comes through from 369 as well, as that is the full ace picked up for Top Esports.
Oh, and I thought that was going to be a tough one for Top. No one had flash available going into the
No.
fight. Everyone had flash available for WE going into that fight, and Top Esports were the ones that came out on top in a fight where, again, their conditions were much worse going in. So curious to get a second look, but you got to imagine with that fight being won, it's going to be Mountain Soul over to Top Esports. Their economy is way too big to overcome. This is likely going to just be the game. So this fight, again, it's the same engagement on a Crisp. I don't get why we're choosing Crisp here, though, when Creme was right there. I think that's the big difference for me, because Creme had such a better fight with Monki not being on him. Keep in mind, this is a flashless Creme. Yes, he has a Seekers, but if you blow that early, it can reset the fight around those lines with where he's at. He's really stuck. And throwing everything at a Crisp like that, I feel like it was a little bit more unwarranted that time around. And the only member who lost Flash in the previous encounter was Cube, who got stuck this time around in the back half. So a couple things just went a little bit worse for Team WE in that one, and gotta imagine with that fight going Top Esports' way, we're on our way to a Game 3 now, Graves.
7,000 gold lead and the Mountain Soul. Baron should be the next target here, as what a fight as well from Kanavi on that Lee Sin. I know it's not super popular in the meta right now, it only shows up every once in a while, but when Kanavi's on this champ, it looks really good. He was able to peel JackeyLove so well, keep him alive for the entirety of that fight.
Yeah, he is quite solid when it comes to him piloting the Lee Sin. Good to see him have a pop-off game here after that game one, of course, was, I'd say Kanavi was the member that should take the most blame for that loss on Lilia. But I think we've reached the point where, again, WE, I really struggle to see ways where they can overcome a Mountain Soul. Gonna need Top Esports to have some airs.
Creme gets hit up by the Chain of Corruption, does go golden as well as Cube goes over the backside. All of a sudden, JackeyLove is very low, and that's a shutdown going over to Cube. Now here comes Monki, dashing onto Creme. He's already got golden. He's already had that cooldown exposed. And WE punish another overextension from Top Esports. The main carries of Top are dead. That should be Baron going over.
I mean, the bullet time was shut down immediately by the public execution from Cube, and WE find two big members. Smite still on the board for Kanavi. WE gonna try and keep him out of the pit. Chris has flash. Look out for his engage.
No ultimates available, though, for WE. They have to be very careful. In goes Kanavi. Gonna try to find a 1v5, but no, he has his Guardian Angel procced. 369 still at full HP. Kanavi respawns, gonna try to find one kill back, but no. It's another shutdown going towards Cube, but the health bars are so low. 369 does a lot of damage. Can 369 and Chris find something? The Baron's at 2,000 HP, surely not a steal. And now WE gonna try to escape. 369 not going to want to risk it just yet. Creme has his teleport up in 8 seconds. If we can cancel some of the bases, maybe that is a fight angle back in for Top, but no. WE will go back with Baron in their hands, and this game still very much alive.
This series is turning into a banger, Grapes. Is right when we thought that Top Esports had full control. WE answer back off of a really poor engage here from Creme. I mean, Chris misses and Creme just goes in solo. No, he's flashless, so he eats the chains of corruption. Again, public execution shuts down bullet time immediately. And the value that Taeyoon got in this fight, that piercing arrow and the E to take down JackeyLove, and then Creme being stuck the way he was. Vampire finds a great dredge line in the back half to catch the post-flash Creme. And that's the two carries being taken out. It leads to a Baron and leads to some hope for WE, who have a lot of standing objectives. Again, they've only taken 2 turrets in this game. This Baron could realistically even up the gold gap and stall the game for an Elder Dragon, where with that flip, anything can happen, Graves.
And remember, we said in the draft that WE's late game team fighting can end up being better when you have Karis eventually getting towards that third item. He's still not there yet, but after this Baron power play, I can imagine that Zanya finally does get collected. And W are going to have to do a lot here with this Baron power play, because The Elder Dragon is spawning in 2.5 minutes. That is still an inherent advantage in top esports space. And so making sure that you get yourself at least to an even same game standing goal will be big. It would help if Creme just dies again. He gets hit up by the Chain of Corruption. There was no piercing arrow to follow up. With another bullet time coming out, it is just to try to clear some of the wave out. Top esports playing very defensively at this point in the game. Cube might have gone a little bit too far forward. The Realm Warp is going to be used by Creme to try to force him back. Flash in with the to the skies for 369. Cube going to try to make it a one-way trip. Going in on the stream, trying to make it a 1-for-1, but no. He will go down and will be traded, though, by the Tier 2 Shuriken bot.
Honestly, good try by Cube. At least traded out the flash of 369 to make that one happen, but a good kill from top esports not only slows down the Baron, but also opens up the Otacon for them to be taken.
It's 33 minutes in. I feel like it would have already been dead by now.
Yeah, this thing's not doing damage anymore. That's for sure.
Top esports, because of that kill on the Cube, likely will be able to pick this up. It also stalls out the Baron, which is only available for 45 more seconds. WE going to try to get there as fast as they can, but now with the Blood Red Roses forming, WE want to go in. It looks like no, and instead it will be top esports picking up all of them, getting themselves another little chunk of experience and adaptive force, and heading back with the Baron buff likely expiring with still a 2,000 gold lead in favor of top.
That is quite nice. I mean, JackeyLove is 18 along with Creme now. So level advantage in the hands of top esports. Yet another advantage that we have on our scoreboards. But still, WE, they've proven that they're feisty in this one. They're not only here to take a game off top esports, but they're here to make sure that this one doesn't go to 3 for free, even being down that Mountain Soul. I consider at this point, just JackeyLove is such a big threat in these fights. The one fight that we saw go WE's favor was when they were able to take down JackeyLove immediately. I think that he might be what breaks the backs here for Team WE, because they don't have any, like, it really has to be Cube on the JackeyLove, and I don't think at this point Cube has enough damage on his own to get through JackeyLove, which is going to be quite the challenge. Yeah, the Mbessa going more of the defensive bruisery build instead of the one with a little bit more damage, and you can already see Monki taking a lot of damage. Vampire, he hooks the wall. Nice picking on him, but it's not going to be enough. That's a banana combo. Now, at this point now, Cubby, 15 seconds for the Elder Dragon. The health bar is not in a good spot right now for WE. And this is some of, I mean, again, I think this is partly the lead of top esports coming crashing down on WE, but also some of the mistakes we're seeing from WE. Stuff like Monki, Vampire losing their health bar on setups and on conditions. It's been a common error for Team WE is Elders now spawn. WE do not have any control over it on the map, but are still looking to find
Kanavi finds the kick! Taeyoon is down! The bullet time finishes him off! And that should do it here. Kanavi will go down though. Karis still very strong. Creme gonna have to try to lock him down, focusing his attention towards Monki first, as Cube still looking for 369. Chris will fall under the turret, but Creme still very big on the front line. It's overall a 2 for 2. The kick was big from Kanavi, but WE still able to hold the line. Yeah, it was a great play from Kanavi, but I don't think top esports are healthy enough to rip this Elder. They do have JackeyLove up, who will be the best to DPS it down, and okay, they're gonna start it. They're sending a TP in. Vampire is likely going to get the bad news here in a sec as he's wrapping his way around. Does drop a one, does see JackeyLove autoing it. Another TP coming in though from Creme. Cube's only here, and Karis is going to base. He's TPing in, but I think he's going to be late. Baron, the Dragon, sorry. 6,000 HP. It looks like top esports instead want to play the fight. Hook lands onto 369. Vampire already dead. Creme forced to go golden here underneath the gravity well. And Karis going to be targeted now by JackeyLove. The double ups do so much damage. Realmore comes in. It's going to be two members, the soul laners of top esports, collapsing on the Cube. Karis forced to use the Zanyas, but it'll be all for naught as Creme will pick up the kill. And back to the Elder they go. Jackie's way too big. Vampire goes in, but had no depth charge available, so it's a one-way trip from the Nautilus. And JackeyLove's map runs the back half of the fight as the one DPS marksman going to be able to carry top esports through the late game, get them that Elder Dragon. And now yet again, we're looking at a game 3 that's likely going to happen as top esports still putting the finishing touches on this game 2. Elder being taken at the time does pretty much guarantees the Baron going to be taken afterwards. As again, the conditions were so bad for WE to start this one off. Monki and Vampire both really low, had to go back. Brilliant kick from Kanavi as he hits the combo with JackeyLove. But the rest of this fight, kind of close, because of course that was a one-way trip for Kanavi. Monki hits the Wind Becomes Lightning to kite his way out using the Lee Sin, and Karis fought a lot of space with the Storm, making sure that it couldn't just be a free fight for JackeyLove. And top esports, frankly, took a lot of tower shots for nothing. Yeah, it felt like they saw the Nexus in their eyes and went a little bit too quickly, and that resulted in them dying a little bit too much. They were able to win that second engagement around the Elder Dragon So now they'll have both that buff and the Baron in the next couple of minutes. For WE, it's going to be very hard to try to defend against that, even though they have done a very, very good job at trying to keep this game alive.
I mean, yeah, just got to believe it ends here. The wave clear, still poke Varus and a Victor. But the damage from MF seems to be the real difference maker in the back half. Of course, is that DPS marksman versus the poke marksman, and we are at full builds. Where that we've seen MF really take over in the back half of this game. Elder Dragon still up for top Esports WE. They're on full seed mode. And we'll see if they can just continue to delete these waves and try and slow down the push as 2 inhibitors likely to fall for free in favor of top Esports.
Yeah, Creme did a good job escorting that top wave in. Monki maybe for some sort of engage. Probably going to want to fight underneath the Nexus turrets at this point. As here come the waves. Baroned up minion waves going into the Nexus turrets. Top Esports going to try to even up this series against WE at 1 apiece, even though they fought tooth and nail to at least make it an even state at this point. First Nexus tower already getting very, very close to going down. It finally does fall. Monki going to get targeted up. The Elder Dragon burn not enough just yet, but Cube is going to actually die first. There comes the Guardian Angel proc. Vampire will fall. Karis dies, and that's the game. Top Esports have evened up our series, and we are going to a game number 3.
I mean, WE, they're here to put up a fight today, Grapes, but Top Esports can make sure this one goes to 3, give themselves a chance to win the series. And this is a series that, again, coming in, we were not exactly expecting this one to be close, contested, but Team WE had different thoughts in mind, continued to put together some decent plays on the map to make this one interesting, and Top Esports really had to dig deep to come back and find that win.
Yeah, shout out to WE for making their ability to come back prevalent and ability to stay active in these games that even Top Esports were playing relatively well, all things considered. This was not the game. This was not the Kanavi throws and loses Top Esports the game solo situation. This was, I think, overall a decently well-rounded game that was led specifically by Creme in the mid game and then finished off by JackeyLove at the very end. Kanavi playing a big role throughout as well. But for WE, they were still able to continue to be competitive against what we thought was one of the best teams here in the LPL.
I mean, like Vampire was making hella plays in that early to mid game. Like they were actually up on Top Esports there for a while. Like Top again really had to dig deep to actually pull out that game in their favor, and it feels like we have quite the series here, Grapes, which has been again a pleasant surprise as Team WE still saw a couple of the errors in the back half. Like the setups did get quite hard once they gave up Mountain Soul and weren't able to play that third Drake really well. I think that was the biggest difference for me. And that really went to Top Esports' favor. And that fourth Drake, of course, the Forever fight we had, they ended up winning that one too. But yeah, I just pleasantly surprised about Team WE today because it feels like they are the team that has really leveled up their form. And Top Esports have really been forced to play well in a day where I don't feel like Top are on top of their game. But again, they did have to dig deep, did have to find the win there, and continue to be challenged here by Team WE in the series that has been quite interesting so far.
Yeah, Top cleaned things up a little bit going into that game compared to what it looked like in game number 1, but still definitely not the peak that we saw from them in the Split 1 playoffs where they actually, of course, went through that lower bracket and beat every single contender, went through the gauntlet, and ended up winning the split. Here's a look at the post-match screenshot. You see a game largely controlled by Top Esports, although there were some humps back and forth as WE did a good job at continuing to fight back. You take a look, actually, it was Taeyoon doing the most damage across the entire game.
I mean, range diff, right? As the Varus. JackeyLove definitely did some catching up there in the back half. But you can see that goal difference. This game was competitive. Like, Team WE were able to fight back in that one. It was gritty. Just objective control really being the big difference maker in the end. And we'll see if that player of the game actually does go over to Creme. We'll say I felt like Creme made some big plays, but was also responsible for a few oopsies. It was a really bloody and busy game, which can sometimes make the MVPs hard because it's not always the cleanest game. But yeah, for me, the real positive marks of this game, again, WE able to push the pace, and Vampire for me was really good on the Nautilus, a player that I feel like has been very streaky and has had some really low lows, actually came up quite big in this game.
And we did see a couple of moments where WE kind of issued out some of their old symptoms of going like a little bit too far forward, like this on the Monki. But overall, it seemed a little bit more contained, and it seemed like everybody on WE was kind of working more as a unit. I think Vampire leading the charge in a lot of these.
I mean, again, the fights and the executions were decently sound. Cube getting in the backline ruined this fight for Team WE, and seeing Monki stall Creme out there, this was a quite nice fight. We did see a lot of back and forth fights that ended up being top esports in the end, but to see WE again just be synced up and have better setups, I really felt like when I watched this team, they didn't play sides well, which led to poor setups, which led to them having to overextend for fights. We've seen them really do better at all three of those things today, which is a good sign for them moving forward. Not just in this series, but other series that we have, as they have a lot of series to play here in Group Ascension. I mean, this is only their third, yet to be determined. 15 more series that they're going to be going through with those best of threes, and opportunity to, of course, push for that top 4, which is the one prize you can net out of this Group Ascension. And
I was going to mention at the end of the show, but I feel like it's a good time to bring it up. Tomorrow, we're going to have our first series of the day, WE versus BLG. So they're getting tested pretty mightily here. I mean, I'm sure a win against Top Esports in a series, if not just a game, will certainly feel good for them. But gonna have to go right back to the drawing board regardless, because that is the nonstop nature of this Group Ascension regular season. Yeah,
a lot of series to play and room for the bottom teams to improve. As WE following the likes of FPX, showing that being here is not a fluke. They have the ability to play and compete at this level, and honestly, it's been a pleasure to see. As surprises make the league more fun for us, Grapes. We don't like when things go to expectation and everything. Like to have some shocks, some surprises, and
yeah,
was good. It's been nice to see Team WE again put up some very competitive series so far today. We'll have to see if that continues, as they have an opportunity to still win the series in Game 3.
And honestly, like, you know, there were some of those series that FPX played earlier on in their regular season, like you said, where it was one game win and then they really weren't able to do much with the other two afterwards. But this is a very, very closely contested game. I feel like if one little thing went WE's way, that actually went the way of Tops in a hypothetical situation, we could be wrapping up the show right here, right now, and WE could be up 2-0.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's fun to have surprises in the series. LPL, always the league that is really, truly full of surprises, Grapes. But at least like for WE to see, again, I felt like there were room for improvement. It was pretty easy fixes, but to see them be able to implement this so quickly in Group Ascension, it just has me feel like there's some promise potentially for this team moving forward. And it has been a pleasure to see. Like, I feel like Taeyoon's been performing all year, but to see other players step up and perform around it has been nice. As ends up being 369, who ended up having a pretty big game out of the Jace again. He was set behind early, was down a level to Cube, just given how the lanes worked out. He was dueling with his support quite a bit for this game. That advantage never came to fruition for Team WE and Cube as 369. It really did end up having a big game there on the Jace, so I think a deserved quiet pog for him as he brings home the MVP.
Yeah, so on that skirmisher build, so was very tanky up in the front line. It was a big part of a lot of those big team fights that were won by Top Esports, as they have evened up our series at 1 game apiece. We got Game 3, our final game of the day between these two squads. One team looking for an upset, the other team looking to avoid being upset and keep themselves in contention for a tie for first place at the top of Group Ascend. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with our final draft of the night.